and this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. A little extra relaxation music for you today. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to season 4 and episode number 522 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Crier Media Network. Yeah. Today, recording day is Wednesday, November 27th, 2024, and it looks like it's going to be a lovely day here at the Beaver Lodge. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him. Hey, Mr. Beaver, and with me is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. As always, a big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. We got a show. There's nothing particularly exciting or edge of your seat gripping drama, but there is news, so we will bring you news, of course, with a little bit of sass and laughter and all that good stuff. But before we go any further, Mr. Grizzly, how is your mental health today? And while you talk, I will try to casually adjust the camera so that I'm better placed.
I am feeling pretty good today, actually, for the first time in a little bit, thankfully. Sorry, I had to clear my throat there. I slept right through the night for a change, which is bizarre.
Nice.
I woke up when the alarm went off at 5:30? No, 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock. Yeah, I used to get up at 5, and Bridget hated that I would wake up at 5, and I'm like, you don't understand. In order for me to be functional by 7, I need to wake up at 5. It's
Right.
like, yeah, but that's, I'm like, fine. So I switched it. So now I wake up at 6, and then I have a secondary alarm at 6:30 when I roll out of bed and jump on the computer. Some days I'll get up earlier, but yeah, I slept right in this morning. Slept right till my alarm went off, which is bizarre because it went off, and I'm like, "Bleh! I just got here." And I looked at the time, and I'm like, no, I didn't. I've been here 8 hours. That is not a thing for me. 6 is usually the most I sleep. And if I sleep more than that, I feel tired. But I don't feel tired this morning. I actually feel good about myself. So I'm going to roll
Morning
with that.
win.
Yeah, I'm going to roll with that. Yeah, no, absolutely. Just roll with it, man, because you don't know when that changes, right?
Yeah. See, now here's the thing. I'm in the exact same state you are in mood-wise, and I took a totally polar opposite path to get there.
Oh, okay.
We had one of our famous 920 curling matches
Mm.
yesterday, which we won. Yay. Which was nice. We lost the first 3, and now we've gone 3 in a row. It happens to be coinciding with 3 weeks that our third is away. So we were joking. So who's going to tell Gord?
Mm.
Nah, we love Gord. But we won it, and of course, well, as you mentioned, right, when you played late night hockey, right, you come home and you're a little wired.
Yeah.
So I was wired and got to bed at around 2 a.m., maybe a little before that, but around 2 a.m., thinking for sure that the alarm is going to wake me up because I set it for 6:15, like as the failsafe. And 4:45 on my own, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, feeling completely rested. I know I am going to crash somewhere around noon or
Yeah,
11,
I don't
but right
understand it.
now, feeling great.
Well, roll with it, man. Roll
2
with it.
hours and 45 minutes of sleep.
Sometimes that
Eyes are not burning. I'm not
you know
feeling
what?
sluggish.
The whole thing that you need 8 hours sleep, that's a complete fallacy. Complete fallacy. Always has been. You need what you need, and what you need, you get when you need it. Some days I've rolled on 3 hours sleep and been very functional. Now, scientific studies have proven that less than 4 hours sleep, you can function, but you're usually not functioning at a high level.
No.
I've done it on 3. I've done it on 4 many, many, many times. 6 hours is the ideal time for me.
Mm.
Edison used to take 20-minute power snoozes throughout the day. He never
Mhm.
slept more than 4 hours straight in for decades, right? So everybody's different. Some people need 12 hours sleep.
Beaver, sweetie.
Yeah, that's literally they need 12 hours. Less than that, and they can't function.
Yeah, not
12 up,
12,
12
but
down.
at least 9.
Yeah, well,
Pretty
6
solid.
for me, and I'm good.
Yeah. And that's not about to change. It's been the same for 12 years. Oh, man. Okay, kits and cups. All right, top news, of course, of the day here
Nova
in
Scotia.
Canada, which is, yeah, Nova Scotia, which is not really news because it's kind of all what we expected.
Yeah,
It was a blowout.
7 minutes to announce it.
Jeez. You know,
7 minutes.
I was feeling a little guilty that I was not gonna be able to do a Nova Scotia return special. Yes, I think I'm good now.
Steve
7
Boots was the same way. He wanted to do a live stream and he couldn't get it together, and he's like, "Now I don't feel guilty about it at all."
It's like I wouldn't have been done the intro. It's like, I mean, "Good evening, kids and cubs.
How
Welcome
you
to
doing?
True
And
North Eager Beaver Nights," and, "Oh, well, look at that."
over. All right, see ya. Thanks for coming out. Bye.
It's been a slice. Come back for another piece. I'll be
We'll see you in the morning because we've got nothing else to say. The show is over. Was that 7 minutes in heaven?
Ooh, well, yeah, yeah, I think it was in the oh god, what was I'll find it, but
Did
there's
you
that,
get the
account.
super majority? Was that what it was? I
Yeah,
don't
you
even
got
know
a
what the final
super
did.
majority. There's the, the Satan account on, Twitter. I remember that. He had something the other day. You made me think of it. Okay, I will find it, and I will get that back to you. Get back to you on that one. But yes, Tim Houston got his super majority. This is according to Ali Thompson of CBC News here. Nova Scotia voters handed Tim Houston's Progressive Conservatives a second consecutive majority government in Tuesday's provincial election, a formidable outcome aided in part by the stunning collapse of Liberal support. Now, the Liberal Party
I
got
wonder,
its worst result since 1963.
I wonder, and I sincerely wonder this, if Nova Scotia has the same problem a lot of people in British Columbia have. We got to get the Liberals out, but the Liberals aren't in. Well, it's Trudeau. No, they're not. They're separate. Do you think that might have had something to do with it?
It could have, but I don't think so because the whole reason this guy called this election 8 months early was specifically to be able to run against Trudeau rather than run on actual policies or solutions
Yeah.
before the next election because he expects that Trudeau will lose, and he doesn't want to run against Ottawa when Pierre gets there, especially, given the recent stories about Pierre being a rather big control freak and nobody undermines the leader. So I'm sure that probably wouldn't go very well for him to run against Ottawa if Pierre was the leader, because Pierre's petty.
Well, Pierre Poilievre has taken cues from the KGB.
What?
This is from Cult MTL. When it comes to towing the party line, Pierre Poilievre has taken cues from the KGB.
Oh,
The man who wants to make Canada great again doesn't let his MPs say what they think or fraternize with political opponents. We've covered this already.
yeah.
But it's pissing Tories off so much they're leaking PP's dirty laundry to gasp the CBC. No matter how much Poilievre wishes to be seen as an anti-establishment rebel, he consistently reveals himself to be a petty and vindictive dictator. Never surrender might make a good slogan at campaign rallies, but running a country requires collaboration and compromise, something Comrade Poilievre refuses to concede.
Ooh, jeez.
Yeah. Well,
That's
spade a spade, right? I mean,
yeah. So, the Liberals fell to 2 seats. Like I said, their worst result since 1963. Oh, sorry, 3 seats. It was 2 seats when I went to bed. 3 seats. So the worst one since 1963. A lot of that has to do in part with the fact that a lot of high-profile incumbents decided not to run again, and it seems that the Nova Scotia Liberal Party even lost some candidates to the Progressive Conservative Party. They actually jumped ship to the Progressive Conservative Party. I don't know if that has anything to do with Zach Churchill's time as Minister of Education, because as we reported on a previous show, he made a couple of decisions that were very, very, very unpopular. And that pissed off a lot of people. And he also had a reputation for being a little bit hot-headed. There was one MP who complained at one moment that he seemed to be talking a little too close and loud at one time, and says, "Yeah, I'm trying to improve that." He may have not been. That may have explained why it is that he seems so calm as to the point of almost like nothing during the debate. There was like no animation. There was he was just like one note in terms of tone and everything. So maybe not wanting to appear too aggressive in that case. But yeah, it did. There was something that wasn't connecting there, because they all did well in terms of words on the debate. But remember when we said the debate, it's like, can anybody show there's a whole range of human emotion, and the whole debate was within this range. It's like, come on, people. So 3 for the Liberals, 9 for the NDP, who jump from 3rd place to 2nd. And Claudia Chender, believe it or not, becomes the first ever female leader of the opposition in Nova Scotia history in 2024. Okay. And the Progressive Conservatives took 42 seats. They needed 37 for the supermajority, and they took 42. So that's he can do what he wants, right? The supermajority means that the government doesn't need to consult with the opposition in any way, shape, or form on anything having to do with House procedural rules, so how they get bills through. So they can determine you all get 5 minutes to talk, or you don't get to talk on this one, or you guys are making a little too much noise about this one or trying to embarrass me, so we're just going to pass this one in 2 days, or right?
Yeah. Well,
So
he ran on a platform of blaming the Federal Liberal Party for all of the provincial failings that he is responsible for.
And that's why his platform was 2 pages.
Yeah. And, he's he downplays his Paradise Papers connection.
Of course. He says, my involvement had nothing to do with taxes.
I just helped companies reach their full potential.
Yes.
By helping them avoid paying taxes.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, if it was something else, you would think he would be very keen, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm guessing as
Why'd he
the
downplay it?
accountant, he wasn't leading corporate leadership and motivational seminars.
Well, see, I thought it was the Panama Papers, but this is the Paradise. They're calling this the Paradise Papers from
Oh, sorry.
2017. Is this
Yes.
article? It says the Paradise Papers revealed earlier this month. This was in November of 2017. The leak contains some 13 million documents involving offshore holdings with 5 times more Canadian companies and individuals listed than in last year's Panama Papers. So the Paradise Papers, they
Okay.
really downplayed that in the media because I remember the Panama Papers. That was big news.
Yeah. So it's the Paradise Papers, not the Panama ones.
Correct. And the Paradise Papers should have been bigger news in Canada because 5 times more Canadian companies and
Yes.
individuals. But why did I literally have not heard of the Paradise Papers until this morning. Because you had mentioned the Panama Papers that he was involved
Yes.
in. But that's not what it was. It's Paradise. It's a whole different thing. Never heard of
Oh.
it before. And this is
Okay.
from the Coast.
So I'm guessing Panama was like Panama itself and Paradise, or like the islands
Paradise
like
was
around
Bermuda.
Cayman and Bermuda and all of that.
Yes. Yeah. They were
Okay.
separate entities. Paradise Papers revealed earlier this month as part of a partnership between, this is in 2017, the CBC, the Toronto Star, the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, and dozens of other reporters around the globe. The leaks contain some 13 million documents involving offshore holdings with 5 times more Canadian companies and individuals than listed in 2016's Panama Papers.
Okay.
Former prime ministers, the Queen of England, and Trudeau government donors have all shown up in leaked data, which shines a light on how wealthy Canadians are able to pay little or no taxes at home by putting their money into offshore trusts and corporations.
Mm-hmm. I have something here that says that although more papers were leaked with Paradise, it pales in comparison to Panama in terms of terabytes of data leaked.
Right.
However, Paradise Papers were much more complex, according to Gerard Ryle, who oversees the ICIJ journalists. That's the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists. Using offshore accounts is not illegal, and there are many valid reasons to use them, of course.
Yeah, well,
So,
and that's the thing.
right.
My brother-in-law years ago somebody said, you got to close these loopholes. And my brother-in-law said, they're not loopholes. It's not a loophole. It's a door that's set up for you to use. What we need to do is put a lock on the door so that people can't use it to abuse it, because that's what they're doing. But it's all legal. It's all legal. And it's all set up by the wealthy so they don't have to pay their share or anything at all in many cases, and stick it to the rest of us, and then convince the rest of us that poor immigrant or poor refugee is the one who's screwing us over, when it's really them, because wage theft has been going on for so long in North America that production has risen by something like 85% and wages have risen by 7. I don't have the exact numbers, but it's around there. It's called wage theft. When grocery stores keep telling us about how their profits each quarter are in record numbers, but income has not risen in conjunction with that, that is called wage theft. They want to keep us under their boot heel. The revolution is coming. How it's coming, I don't know, but people are done. They're done. Now, in the United States of America, they thought it was coming by electing Trump, who said he's going to, lower the grocery prices, which he can't do unless he nationalized the grocery chains. And we know that capitalists hate that idea. So that won't happen. So guess what? None of your prices are going to go down. They're going to go way up because he's instilling 25% tariffs on everything coming from Canada and Mexico. Basically, you bent over and took it. And we're proud to do it. It's just... We're so fucked. We're just fucked. We are. I don't mean to be vulgar, and I'm sorry, Mom, but come on. This is so bad. This is so bad. Things are about to get a lot more expensive. If you think the price of eggs is bad now, wait until February, when you won't be able to afford them at all. Food bank use, yeah, that's going to go way up. And guess what? It's not Prime Minister Trudeau's fault. It's not the fault of the Canadian government. It is the fault of greedy corporations, number one. Number two, The fact that you have an American president who wants to slap tariffs on everything, which is going to drive prices through the freaking roof. And to that, we want to remind you how ineffective or how negative tariffs are. And we discovered this in the 1930s, and then we talked about it in a pop culture reference in 1985.
Controlled House of Representatives in an effort to alleviate the effects of the anyone the Great Depression passed the anyone the tariff bill, the Hawley-Smoot Tariff Act, which anyone raised or lowered raised tariffs in an effort to collect more revenue for the federal government. Did it work? Anyone know the effects? It did not work, and the United States sank deeper into the Great Depression.
So that, of course, is a pop culture reference, if you will. It's a clip from the 1985 film Ferris Bueller's Day Off, when Ben Stein, who is an actual economist, was asked to shoot a scene, and they just said, make it up. He had no script. Make it up. Talk freely for 5 or 10 minutes. We'll film it. We'll get some B-roll of the students who are zoned out because nobody's paying attention then. That was 1985. That's almost 40 years ago. And he was talking about something that happened in the 30s, which had been almost 50 years prior. And we discovered that tariffs don't work. They plunge you deeper into depression. And I'm not talking about the mental health kind. We know they don't work. And yet this shithead, this orange, what do they call them? Fanta Claus?
Santa Claus.
I heard that one this morning. I couldn't stop laughing. Fanta Claus.
My soda pop drink for him is Orange Thrush. Fanta Claus.
Yeah. Well, Fanta Claus seems to think these tariffs are going to help people, and they won't. They won't help any the average citizen, and including the wealthy are going to have to pay more for stuff. Not that it'll matter to them because they'll make more bank, but still. Everything is going to go up. It's going to be inflation like you've never seen. We've never seen it. Unprecedented levels. We've never seen this. We're so fucked.
You know what, Mr. Grizzly? Believe it or not, because the internet's a wonderful place.
Yes.
Because we know we're going to get dinged on this. IMDb actually has the full quote written out, so I can read it for our kids in the audience.
Please do. And while you're doing that, I'm going to grab another coffee, so please do.
I took a dumb luck chance, and it's right there. So, economics teacher. In 1930, the Republican-controlled House of Representatives, in an effort to alleviate the effects of the anyone, the Great Depression, passed the anyone, the tariff bill, the Hawley-Smoot Tariff Act, which anyone raised or lowered, raised tariffs in an effort to collect more revenue for the federal government. Did it work? Anyone know the effects? It did not work, and the United States sank deeper into the Great Depression. Today, we have a similar debate over this. Anyone know what this is? Class? Anyone see this before? The Laffer curve? Anyone knows what it says? It says that at this point on the revenue curve, you will get exactly the same amount of revenue as at this point. This is very controversial. Does anyone know what Vice President Bush called this in 1980? Anyone? Something do economics? Voodoo economics?
Yeah.
Trump's economic song is going to be "You Do Something to Me." Do that voodoo that you do so well, 'cause you'll sink the economy like nobody else can do. It's just this guy. Okay. So it seems that We are doing the big political theater thing. Trump came out and said that there might be 25% tariffs on everything. Now, even though we have been here before, as we explained yesterday, because last time around in part one of this horror movie that we seem to have survived for the sequel, he did this right before we were going to open up NAFTA negotiations for NAFTA 2. He slapped tariffs on steel and aluminum.
The USMCA.
Yes, exactly. And then, or more like USMCA. But then we slapped what? Sorry.
Well, that's how he dances.
Come on, man. He dances how PP fights. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
And I'm going to say this, and you can take offense to this if you like, but that's too gay.
I take mild offense, but I will allow it.
Well, it's because of the whole. I mean, we saw him do it with a microphone recently, right?
I know, man. I know this guy. Listen, we are in absolute zero self-awareness for those of you who get the Kelvin stuff. Okay. All right. That's a science joke. My Beaver sweetie would be really proud of me right now. You made the science joke. Okay. So you got premiers who are panicking. You got cut Mexico out, blah, blah, blah. Oh my God, tariffs. Oh my God, Justin, let's have a meeting. Oh, we need to have a parliamentary emergency debate. Why? I mean,
for what?
We had a parliamentary emergency debate. It went till about midnight, and everybody got up and stood up in the House and, made some statement about why it is that we need to come up with some type of response to these tariffs. Yeah. Okay. Tell us something we don't know. I mean, we have been, the reason I'm mentioning this is because we have been complaining for a good while now about people using Parliament in the House of Commons as a backdrop. Like, we're going to hold an emergency debate to all have a panicked, breathless discussion about what we already know we have to do about someplace that we've already been before, similar, but of course different, because now it's this guy on steroids, and we still don't know what it is that he is going to do or what it is that he is going to ask. The 25% is still a might. He could change his mind. I mean, it's not like it hasn't happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he also said that he would stop the Russia-Ukrainian war in one day before he even took office, and there's a broken promise. So, I mean, he's threatened. This is the stuff that he likes to do. And then we had the negotiation, and once the negotiation was done, boom, he lifted the tariffs. He likes tariffs as a way to get you to panic so that you're not clear-headed and calm when you go into the negotiation, and that you have your people screaming at you, oh my God, these tariffs are destroying our industry, so that pressure from the people will get you to cave. That's the strategy. Because the response, tone, right? Chaos. Countertone. Yeah, this is fine. So, about softwood. That's the countertone. Yes, I see all the noise you're making, but this is what we came here to do. So you can keep on spending part of your time focused on making all that noise. We are going to focus all of our time on the destination. Mm-hmm. Have fun. That's what we did last time. Right? So, and there's already perhaps some friction between him and his treasury person already, because a lot of the positions that he named are people going like, what? And this guy that apparently is named, the person that he named as ambassador to Canada apparently is actually a serious diplomat, which is kind of interesting. And apparently the guy he named as his treasury secretary is actually relatively, I'm guessing, way more moderate. He's actually the Republicans that want a free for all. Even the Elon Musks are basically calling him a business as usual guy. So now he's a business as usual guy that's there to entertain the audience of one and dance to the tune he's calling. So, but again, if anybody wants to read into some tea leaves in someone who's completely unpredictable, then he named a business as usual guy and then is saying 25% tariffs when he campaigned really on 10, right? One could suspect that perhaps there's a little showbiz and razzle-dazzle in all of this. Now, unfortunately, the MPs and the premiers are all running around like the chickens in Chicken Run. And they're making a lot of noise. They're panicking. They're doing that, right? And it's like, while we're doing that, we are not focused. We are taking time away planning our strategies, right? We are not talking with one voice. Now, I understand, of course, in Canada, when there is an emergency situation, as this is, it is traditional to have that thing in the House of Commons. Mm-hmm. But we still don't know what it is he's going to do. He only announced possibly 25% tariffs. It's like, you got Pierre Poilievre that was out there. Like, okay, the reason why I am bringing this particular quote up is because he is the mouth that never shuts up.
Never.
So given how many words he produces per minute when he's asked about stuff, and he's certainly not shy about giving his opinion unless there's like he's emerging from a trailer on the side of the road in Atlantic Canada looking a little disheveled and wobbly. Then he has nothing to say and he'll disappear for about a week and a half or so. But other than that, he has a lot to say. He has a lot of opinions and he loves sharing them. And so with all the words he produces, you think that there would be a gem and a nugget there, right? Big bad Trump from the United States is coming and is threatening Canada, and weak Justin Trudeau's not done anything about it yet.
Did you see
because that president? And he goes, we need a plan to put Canada first. Well, thank you, Captain Obvious.
Really? I never would have thought of that. I mean, my goodness.
Not. Here's a plan to put Canada first. We need a plan. You're the leader of opposition. Suggest one. Don't tell us we need a plan. We know we need a plan. And of course, to put Canada first, he throws Canada first in there, of course, because that's the thing that we need right now is someone starting talking about Canada first. We need that language going on too, right? There's a sign of who's the most willing of the three major party leaders to engage in lips to button press firmly. We need to put Canada first. Donald Trump, he's probably in his like little office at Stornoway thinking, yeah, I'm going to say Canada first, and how Donald Trump will get wind of that and he'll go, Canada first. I like the sound of that in one way. I like the cut of that guy's jib.
I like the cut of that guy's jib. You have grit, sir.
He's a serious economic mind. No poodle.
Did you happen to catch his thing yesterday? It was his press conference on the Hill when he spoke about. I'm trying to find it. I thought I had it here somewhere. Talked about. Let me see. Where is it? I have it here somewhere. Oh, there we go. Here we go. His press conference. It starts. I'll round it up to where he starts in English or in French for about 10 minutes.
Right.
And Here we go. I've got the full clip here. I'll show you some of it. We won't show the whole thing, but here's a little bit of it. This is from yesterday. And of course, he takes 2 questions and then runs away.
Of course.
Thank you very much for coming, everyone. Now in English. The United States is the greatest economic and military superpower in the history of the world, and they are our neighbor. The U.S. is responsible for $1.2 trillion.
Okay, that to begin with, that statement isn't factually correct.
It started with some butt kissing.
I mean, they are the most powerful currently and the richest currently, but I would think Alexander the Great might have had a little bit more. Anyway, but history is not exactly the conservative strong suit, remember?
Dollars of our trade. We trade almost twice as much with the Americans as we trade with the rest of the world combined. Trade with the U.S. is 40% of our economy. President Trump yesterday made an unjustified threat of a 25% tariff on our already weak and shrinking economy.
Oh,
Justin Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland were surprised, amazingly. Everyone else knew something like this could be coming because President Trump had been talking about it for years on the campaign trail. Yet 20 days ago, Chrystia Freeland said, "Don't worry, Canada will be fine." Apparently, neither she nor Justin Trudeau were following what the incoming president was saying. And now we must take account and we must be honest with our unprecedented weakness. After 9 years of Prime Minister Trudeau, our GDP is smaller than it was when he took off, per capita is smaller than it was when it took off.
When was the last time he called him Prime Minister? In a press conference. Like he actually showed some respect there for once.
No. That wasn't respect. That was nice nasty.
I know.
He took office. In fact, our per capita GDP has dropped more than any other G7 country since the year before COVID. We have the most indebted households. We've had the worst housing inflation. A quarter of our people are in poverty. 2 million people line up in food banks. Food prices have risen 37% faster in Canada than in the United States of America. Our economy is teetering on the brink of collapse. And now we face this renewed threat. We need a plan to put Canada first on the economy and on security. So, to start with, on the economy, I'm calling on Prime Minister Trudeau to put partisanship aside and in the...
Oh, that's fucking rich. Now he's saying, listen to everything I have to say and do as I tell you. Listen to the rest of this because this is exactly what he does.
Spirit of Team Canada to accept that he cannot go ahead with quadrupling the carbon tax to 61 cents a litre. This was an irresponsible policy to begin with.
I know.
But combining this kind of crippling energy tax increase with potential tariffs from Donald Trump would push our economy into a nightmare and a tailspin. So let's put partisanship aside and axe the tax. Second, Prime Minister has to put aside partisanship and in the spirit of Team Canada, cancel his energy cap, which would see Alberta and Saskatchewan produce 35% less energy at a time when we need those jobs. It is our biggest industry and our biggest export. The incoming American president says he wants to cut gas prices in half. Well, the only way to do it will be to import more clean Canadian energy, so the Prime Minister has to stop this assault on our biggest industry.
I'm sorry, since when are the oil sands clean?
No.
Oh yeah, it keeps going.
We'll
go
the
for another
United States is building renewables way faster than even we are, even though they're drill baby. No.
Well, and Alberta was ahead of the country until Danielle Smith canceled all of that because she's such an... Anyway, we'll go for another minute or two, and then I'll skip ahead after.
Next, he has to cancel all tax increases. Tax increases on work, investment, and making stuff in Canada. Finally, he needs to renew and restart the commitment to end the softwood lumber tariffs and the Buy America policies, just like Stephen Harper was successful in doing, even though Justin Trudeau has not been able to do that under 3 presidents and 9 years. On security. About a week ago, Justin Trudeau admitted that he broke our immigration system, and that brings new challenges. His own published documents show there are 4.9 million people here temporarily that are supposed to leave.
Many of which are there because of the result of premiers allowing anybody to open a university in air quotes so that they could bring in people. So strip mall universities who have 5,000 students in a strip mall classroom that could fit 30. This is all conservative premiers who did this. Remember that. And the temporary foreign workers program, which has been abused by corporations for a long time, and they keep putting tighter and tighter restrictions on it. And who brought that in again? That was the conservative government.
Jason Kenney.
But let's not pay attention to any history.
And it was Jason Kenney's second version of the program after this first version was completely botched.
Yes. We'll continue.
By December 31st of next year, 13 months from now, 4.9 million people. We asked what the plan was to track their departures, and yesterday his immigration minister said, we're just going to take people at their word. He admits that there have been 2 ISIS terrorists allowed into our country. What is the plan to protect our security and reinstate sovereignty over who is in our country? Military. Justin Trudeau has demolished our military with poor decisions, botched procurements, and wasted money. One thing he could do today.
Botched procurements?
F-35, anyone?
We'll
the
continue.
submarines we bought from Australia?
Yeah. We'll continue.
Is announced that his planned $1 billion cut to the military is cancelled, and then present a real plan to reallocate money away from lower priorities towards rebuilding our military and reinforcing our military security over North America. And finally, on drugs. I don't want to stop drug overdoses to please Donald Trump. I want to stop drug overdoses so that there's not one more mother with her face buried in a pillow sobbing that she just lost her kid. After 47,000 other Canadians have died, that's more than we lost in the Second World War. A 200% annual increase in drug overdose deaths have resulted from Justin Trudeau's radical liberalization of drugs. Justin Trudeau must put partisanship aside, not just for the sake of Team Canada, but for the sake of our people, and fully reverse his liberalization of drugs. Ban them, prosecute those who traffic in them, secure our borders against the illegal importation of fentanyl ingredients, put people in treatment and recovery to bring our loved ones home drug-free.
Okay, I'm going to stop there for a second. You know what this is leading to under his party, right? Cannabis will be illegal.
Yep.
Watch him put restrictions on alcohol. Except, I'm going to go out on a limb here.
Alcohol he won't.
Oh, but his people in his party want him to. He won't personally, but his backbenchers will. Just like his backbenchers will try and end abortion and a woman's right to have that choice. We'll continue.
That is necessary now more than ever. Look, President Trump has the right to put his workers and his nation's security first. I will put Canada's workers and Canada's security first. We need a Prime Minister with the strength and the smarts, the brains and the backbone to stand up for this country, to rebuild our security, our military, and our economy. That is what I will do. Let's bring it home.
Pour les travailleurs canadiens qui
Should Canada
s'inquiètent
have less reliance on American trade, in your view?
That's a nice.
Okay, we'll
Okay,
just stop right
that's
there
enough
for
of
now.
him.
Yeah.
Okay, we need to go through a couple of things here because that was a lot of bullshit per
Well, I'm
minute.
going to send you the link to it because I want you to the French version because I picked up a lot, but I know there's a few things I missed in it. So
Mhm.
I'll send you this link in your Twitter DMs so that
Okay,
you'll have it, and you can
perfect.
tell me what he left out.
Okay. So, first of all, the weak
How
economy.
different it was. Sorry, how different it was from English to French is
Yes.
what I'm getting at.
Yeah, if he had a deux langues, deux discours, as
Yeah,
we
which
say,
he normally does.
two tongues, two discourses. Okay. First of all, has to attack our economy. Now, this is clearly he's playing tough guy here on this one, right? Yes. I'm guessing he's playing tough guy because he wants Donald Trump to see this, which, again, are you guys fucking stupid? The best thing we could hope for with the wackadoodle south of us is a policy of benign neglect. The last freaking thing anybody should be doing is trying to get his attention.
Yeah.
So we have this guy doing this, and on the other side, we have Doug Ford going, it's like a close family member stabbing you in the heart. Yeah, that's going to make Donald Trump really happy to hear that. You dumbass. I'm not saying make ourselves small and don't fight back, but you don't have to go out of your way to frickin' poke the bear. You know what the bear does when you poke it. There are a lot of countries in the world. There are a lot of people that will provide some opposition. There'll be a lot of people within his own party. They're already biting each other. The last thing you need to do is try to freaking stand out to get his attention, especially if you are opposing him or telling him no. He does not like that word. You save your no from behind the scenes when you need it, when you really are being tough and putting Canada first, allegedly, in the negotiating room. On TV, stop it. You are not helping. You're walking into the bull ring with a red cape and you're going, la, 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 la. Don't do that. How about we try not to get his undivided attention? Maybe.
Does anybody actually think that he could stand up to Trump? I mean, really?
That's the other thing. That the last note that I just wrote when he's in there, and Justin Trudeau's weak and like this. Donald Trump is supposed to stand up like this. Well, I will stand up for like, yeah, okay, boo boo kitty. So you go into a room with him and one on one. How do you think that'll work out for you, poodle?
Yes, Spike. Yeah, Spike, you're my best friend, right? Spike, you're my best friend, right?
Donald, you're going to leave that room with Donald Trump saying something. You did something like a dog.
Yeah.
Or you were on some type of position on your knees somehow. Either begging or, Donald Trump when he's suggesting that many times, with his dick in your mouth.
Well, I mean,
you can tell when Donald Trump says it when he means the person was on his knees begging and the person was on his knees making me happy. It's pretty clear in the tone and context. All right? Pardon for the crude language here.
Well,
but let's call it what it is. All right? Talking down our economy, lying about it being weak. Again, comparing, and remember, this is a media literacy thing that you have to understand with the conservatives. Yes. There are times when they choose to compare ourselves to each other pre and post COVID. And then they don't compare us to our near peer nations who have all been through the same thing. And when they do, we find out, oh, well, it sucks here, but we did pretty much better than anyone else. We did among the best. We all still lost. And hey, we lost less than everybody else is not particularly comforting. It's not a, yay, well, that motivates me to go out and vote. We got the guys with which it wasn't as bad as it could have been. Ooh, okay. Like, that's not motivating. You can't really run on that. Right? But we ended up in a pretty damn good place, and we did manage to engineer that soft landing. That's probably going to get blown up if we don't, but we did manage to do it, and it was under this particular prime minister. So he's not weak. Objectively, he's not weak.
Objectively, yeah. I mean, he stood up
Right?
to
We have all
China.
the data and the metrics. The rest is
Stood up to
vibes.
China, and what happened? What did the Conservative Party do when he stood up to China? Why are you doing that? And this fucking guy wants to be prime minister? Polyev, the man who literally led the charge of, why are you talking to China like that? Because we're a democracy.
Why are you talking to India like that? And why are you talking to Russia like that? Why are you helping Ukraine meet the conditions to accede to EU membership? Putin doesn't want that. We need to interfere on that. We'll say it's about carbon taxes.
Yeah.
Why are you talking about India like that? Where's the proof? Put the proof out in public. Destroy all the investigations and the sources. Put it out in public right now. United States drops an indictment. Oops.
Well, I had a longtime friend yesterday write me a little note. He said he loves the show and he likes what we have to say and he respects us, but he thinks we're wrong about Polyev, and Polyev will be the next prime minister, which he very well could be. You know,
we're not saying he won't be you're saying he won't be the next prime minister because his party will boot him, not because he won't win an election.
Correct. But he says no. He's got to. We've got to get somebody in there new to take us out of the hellhole that Trudeau has put us in. And I'm like, could you tell me what that hellhole is? Pharmacare, dental care, $10 a day child care, child tax credit, school lunch program,
inflation at 2, interest rates going back down to the Bank of Canada neutral rate.
Please tell me, what is this hellhole that Trudeau has put us in? If you can lay it out for me. And I mean it. And I've said this to a lot of people. I just don't like him. Okay, don't like him. You don't have to. I don't care if you hate his guts.
But you don't have to claim he's destroyed the economy because you don't like him. You could just say, I don't like him. He's not my cup of tea. He's not my style. It doesn't resonate with me.
Fair enough.
I'm just not that into him.
Okay,
but don't have to make him
vote
evil.
in an idiot? You're going to vote in Pierre Poilievre, who has he's one piece of legislation in 20 years. And one piece of legislation that was so bad, so terrible to democracy, that it was struck down. So please tell me how a career politician who has never done a thing but divide us, how is he going to make things better? He has no plan, no platform, no idea, and will bend over and take it from Trump and Putin and Xi and Modi and those he is already financially beholden to and politically beholden to.
Okay. But to get back to his message, because our goal is to not just tell you why he's unacceptable, but why his message is bullshit.
Please do. I've got more to go with that too, so.
GDP.
Carry on.
I'd like to move to another subject after this, though. However, because we give him a lot of time.
I know, but I got a 3-minute clip we can show later. It's a good one. It lays it all out.
All right. GDP per capita. Again, we've explained this. This is one of these times that he uses the metric comparing us to ourselves versus he's comparing GDP per capita before we had this mass influx of people in a short amount of time, and after. And as we explained, math, when you have a fraction, and a percentage is a fraction, you're dividing one thing by another. The bigger you make the number on the bottom, the lower your number is going to be. GDP hasn't decreased for the country. There's just more people in the country. But your paycheck hasn't gone down because GDP per capita has decreased. He's trying to make it sound like all of us are earning less money now than we did. It's not that. There's the GDP as a nation, and it's divided by the number of people in the nation. When you have a mass influx of people, your GDP per capita always, invariably, goes down. Always. For a few years. And the people that have come in acclimatize, acculturate, establish themselves, get their footing, and then all of a sudden, all of these people result in an economic boom. There's a delay of a couple of years, right? It's not like people just get here and hit the ground running.
Well, do you remember here in
It
Ottawa?
takes time to get used to a new place.
We had a massive influx of Somalian refugees in the late 80s, early 90s. You remember that, sir?
Yeah, I know. I was in high school when it happened. The whole demographics of our high school changed almost overnight.
Literally. So I remember one day I'm driving along. This is about 20 years ago. Driving along to a job site somewhere, and we're in our work van, and and my buddy's going on about something, and I said, "Look to your left." He goes, "What?" And I go, "See the woman in the hijab who's driving that brand new minivan?" He goes, "Yeah." And I go, "How much you want to bet she came over here with the influx of Somalian refugees and has built a life for herself and her family here? And I bet you she paid cash for that vehicle and didn't finance it." And he looked at me and he goes, "You're absolutely right. They came here with nothing and have made something. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes time."
Well, speaking of that, my Beaver sweetie told me yesterday that yesterday, today, depending on how you, because the stamp says the 26th, but apparently they arrived at 2 a.m. at the 27th. But 30 years ago, today, 2 a.m., my Beaver sweetie's family arrived in Canada.
There you go. I think they've done okay for themselves.
They had a couple of suitcases and whatever money they had from Romania, communist country, wasn't a lot.
Yes, and your partner is what is it again? He's a doctor. He has his PhD and has developed. What has he developed again that's going to change the world?
A way to recycle the lithium as well as the manganese, cobalt, and nickel from electric car batteries while creating zero solid and zero liquid waste, and recovering it at a purity such that it could actually be taken and just put back into another battery right away without any additional processing.
That is what we call a world-changing technology, and he is patenting it, is he not? He's written papers on it, and it's going to be patented. So, yeah.
Well, hopefully he's at the last stage. If the lawyers cannot prove that that the patent is invalid, then he's got it. And his dad was at university level is a nuclear laser safety guru. And his brother is an electrical engineer who also has a patent.
What's that song from Hamilton? Immigrants get shit done.
That's why I keep on saying my life is like the Big Bang Theory, and I'm Penny.
Yeah.
They're all brilliant scientific minds, and I'm the actor.
Okay, that is really funny, dude.
Like, I'm no dummy. And at that table, I'm the dumb pretty one, which is actually a refreshing change for me. I'm not insulted at all.
Well, it's whenever the three of us get, or the four of us get together, I should say, because Bridget's usually, and I'll sit and you and Bridget will start talking because Alex and I'll go off on a tangent about technology. Right. And I've got a grade 12 education and a couple of years of college in what I do. I'm not that smart, but I understand a lot of things. So I love just chatting with him for hours, and we can go for hours. And you guys are like, "Okay, guys, wrap it up."
Alex, Alex can keep a conversation going for 7 hours if you need to. He's the perfect. Like if you're there driving this and you need someone to help keep you awake and up for 7 hours, like this, Alex is your guy. He could talk about everything. It's great. Okay, now back to the video. I'm not sure if my mic was muted while the video was playing or if the sound was there, but okay. We've got to put aside partisanship. Come on, girl.
Really? Like, seriously? This is the guy who won't let his own MPs talk to other MPs in other parties.
Girl. It's like you are literally partisanship on two legs and with a pulse.
Yes.
You are literally the worst alchemy possible that can emerge from a university student debate club. You set your alarm to ring at 3 a.m. just to make time to be partisan, to be sure you get it in a day. Girl.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. The bullshit is neck high tonight. Then.
Irony is dead.
Stop the emissions cap and remove the carbon tax has nothing to do with the particular trade negotiation that we're going to have to do. Nothing to do. These things will do nothing. And let's talk through the remove the cap on oil production, because we talked about this yesterday, right? If he's going to put a 25% tariff on everything, that includes our number one export to the United States. And I quizzed Mr. Grizzly on this yesterday, and Mr. Grizzly correctly answered it was
oil.
Ding, 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 ding. You win the prize.
Dinosaur juice, I believe a lot of people are calling it these days.
You win the prize. So pump more oil so more of it can be tariffed at 20. How does this work for you?
Yeah. I'm sorry, the math doesn't math on that one.
It doesn't.
Take the cap off and reduce
it's not even the math. It's like
oil.
Taking the cap off will not benefit you economically in any way as it pertains to these particular tariffs. It'll just bring more oil to be tariffed. It's not like the additional oil that you produce is going to be excluded from the tariffs. Then it would make some sense. But no, it's just going to be tariffed like that. So the emission cap has nothing to do with this. The carbon price has nothing to do with this.
Yeah, I know.
It's a domestic policy. Now, if you're saying the carbon tax along with the tariffs is going to make things absolutely terrible, so you must remove the carbon tax. It's like, or we try to fight the tariffs. Or we try to fight the tariffs.
Well,
or we come up with some compensation plans to help people deal with the tariffs, which we are allowed to do. But you taking 24 cents off a liter of gas when everything has gone up 25% is not going to do shit. Nobody's going to notice. Everybody's going to say, well, it can't. It's not going to hurt. Yeah, but it's not going to be the difference between lining up at a food bank or not. Everything went up 25%.
Everything. And Hugh's correct about this. Our oil can only be processed in the U.S. Alberta oil, specifically, can only be processed in the U.S. because it's very dirty. We don't have any refineries in Canada that can do that. It's all done in the U.S.
Right. Then he goes, cancel all tax increases. Okay, so you keep on saying that you got to run the country like a business, and now you've just said that the business of the country is going to run as if inflation doesn't exist at all. We are going to do nothing at all to increase our revenues except this mythical grow the economy, because if we grow the economy, then that generates more taxes, and then you complain that, oh my god, the taxes too high, and then you cut those. So at some point there are only so many government revenues that you can stop from coming in before you create a problem for yourself. So that's not an issue. Then he goes, like the softwood lumber tariffs that Harper did so well. Okay, that one you got to back the truck up, because Stephen Harper, that fathermucker on softwood lumber. Softwood lumber was something that we had been battling for close to 20, 30 years. And we were always winning. But the United States did with us, like Trump did with his criminal cases, kept on filing another appeal and another thing and finding another exception and went around like this for the better part of several decades, 2 or 3. And we were at the last possible legal avenue that the U.S. could use. And we were going to win that one too. And this would have been settled forever. And what did Harper do? Right under the wire, he negotiated a new deal on softwood lumber specifically with the United States, which the United States immediately challenged and said starting the process of having to relitigate that again back to zero. That's what Stephen Harper did on softwood lumber. The reason we still have a softwood lumber issue today is because Stephen Harper rushed in and showed his belly to the United States rather than saying, we've got this on lock. We've just got to let this last challenge play out and we will have won this. And all the money we have spent for decades in legal fees trying to resolve it will have been worth it. And he said, nah, I don't need to win this legal case. The United States, let's one-on-one negotiate a new deal, like Doug Ford and Danielle Smith. And as soon as we negotiated, they violated it and challenged us, said we were breaking it, and the clock started all over again. That was the genius thing that Stephen Harper really did with softwood lumber. And Pierre's saying, we need to do more of that.
Well, and remember,
just
Pierre has
handing it over.
Pierre has a unique relationship with lumber.
Yes, indeed.
A very strange predilection, if you will.
Yeah. Then he says, the Prime Minister admitted he broke the immigration system. We all watched the video. We showed it.
Yeah.
He didn't say, I broke the immigration system.
Said,
we made a mistake. The mistake was that we didn't tighten it up fast enough when we saw the bad actors. And of course, when the Prime Minister mentioned those bad actors, well, the Conservatives the next day got all apoplectic about that. It was like, oh my God, I can't believe he's blaming everybody about something. These puppy mill colleges did exist. They are a thing. This thing did happen. Nobody invented this. The premiers did ask for more people. The premiers have been underfunding colleges and universities and rely on the higher tuition fees from foreign students to be able to cover that which they will not do. They refuse to fulfill their constitutionally obligated mandate to fund these things because they found a way to do it on the cheap, not have to take it from general revenues. But they never plan for the day that the tap will be turned off. And all of a sudden, they have all of this money that they have to find all of a sudden to shore up or let the university system and college system collapse. But then, rather than doing the work of shoring it up, let's just blame Ottawa. And it's not a blame Trudeau thing, right? This is a Canada thing. It's blame Ottawa. The premiers frequently run against the federal government, no matter what it is. But in this particular case, now this is on steroids. This is coordinated between the federal party and all those provincial parties. And it's just like attack, 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 like was in that article. It's all about the attack. He admits that the immigration system let in 2 people from ISIS. Like, aha, we caught you. We put you to the wall. We put the screws to you and we got you to admit it. Like, no, like it's our immigration system screwed up, let 2 people in that shouldn't be. Fortunately, intelligence caught it, surveyed them, monitored them. Yes, there was a real threat, which gave catalyst for them to be able to be arrested. So basically our system worked, even though the initial system failed by letting them in. The built-in redundancies and fail-safes that we had did ultimately work.
Don't we call those checks and balances?
Yes. So we should be appropriately concerned that the first mistake did happen and act to do that, but we shouldn't be running around with our hair on fire. And it's certainly not a talking point to make a case to submit to Trump.
God, no.
Our immigration system made an error once. let's cave. Like, he botched the military. All the data shows that this current government has invested more in the military than the Harper government did.
Mm-hmm.
The Harper government didn't do much to get us to 2% either. And they talked a good game about doing a lot of stuff in the Arctic, and they never really got it done, did they?
And remember, we were in a war in Afghanistan during the Harper government.
Mm-hmm.
And this government has still spent more money.
Mm-hmm.
During, I'll say, relative peacetime. I say relative peacetime for our military. Yep. Relative. There are conflicts we're involved in around the world that we don't know anything about, but nothing as on the surface visible as Afghanistan was.
Then he talks about the $1 billion cut to the military. It's not a $1 billion cut. Chrystia Freeland asked the military to look within all of it and find $1 billion worth of efficiencies because there's some new spending coming on. Can we maybe alleviate the load? It's not $1 billion in cuts. And he gets into the drug overdoses thing. Drug overdoses, for the purposes of this trade negotiation that's about to come, or tariffs, are not the issue. Donald Trump did not impose the tariffs because the level of drug overdoses in Canada were too high and he was concerned about them. He did it because he alleges that there's fentanyl crossing our borders and lots of humans crossing our borders. Well, on that, kids and cubs, and this is something that Doug Ford has a point on, but you're not supposed to fucking say it out loud in the context when you're dealing with someone who's a little and way sensitive and reacts to everything.
Who has such a fragile ego that if you insult him in the least bit over the size of his rally crowds, he will go ballistic on you about it.
Yes. U.S. authorities say that they've intercepted more than 9,000 kilograms of fentanyl coming from Mexico, compared to fewer than 20 kilograms coming from Canada. 9,000 versus 20. U.S. Border Patrol recorded more apprehensions in October, with 53,000 from Mexico in the month of October, compared to a grand total of 20,000 from Canada over a 12-month time span. 20,000 migrating people from Canada into the U.S. in 12 months versus 53,000 in October alone from Mexico. He's treating us the same way. Doug Ford is pissed off about that, rightfully so. So we should all be. But here's how he does it. What I found unfair about the comments is to compare us to Mexico, and I could tell you Canada is no Mexico. Saying he found Trump's comments insulting. Yes, that's it again. Tell someone who's got a hair-trigger temper that you find him insulting. Why, again, are you trying to grab his attention? And while you're at it, still throw Mexico under the bus. Canada is no Mexico. Because, yeah, when you show up at the trade table with Claudia Sheinbaum, who doesn't appear to take shit, based on what I'm going to show you right in a couple of seconds here, Doug Ford saying like this, Canada is no Mexico. I'm sure that ends up with a buenos dias, Senor Ford. Please tell me what it is that you meant by Canada is no Mexico. What is it about us that you most definitely are not? Let's talk. I'm sure that conversation is going to happen at some point. You dumbass. You don't insult allies. You can make that point without gratuitously slapping Mexico across the face. What is wrong with you?
We're not dealing with a very smart man here. I mean, that's what it is.
You are not fucking helping. Just, it's like a family member slapping you in the heart. I can't believe he compared us to Mexico. That's so insulting. Can you believe this guy? It's like, I thought you loved Trump, Dougie. The Republican governor of the great state of Etobicoke. Not Republican anymore all of a sudden, Doug?
I guess not.
Cross from the floor? I just
Mm-hmm.
one rational person, Flavio Volpe, president of the Canadian Auto Parts Manufacturers Association. He was also involved last time this happened. Quote,
Mm-hmm.
I expect tough, real negotiation, but I'm also telling everybody, be patient, relax a little bit. You know, he loves doing this, and you know we're going to fall right into his hands. If we panic, we are going to fall right in his hands. Calm the F down. Chill out. We've got a couple of months. Plan a strategy. Quietly. Don't negotiate in public. Don't strategize in public. Talk to each other before somebody bellies up to a mic and decides to freelance. Why are you all being so damn dumb? Just, God. It's like we look like a bunch of idiots running around going, ah. Like,
I think this is a
calm
great
down.
comment from Cranky Canuck. He says, and I agree with him, the tariffs are a strategy to destabilize Canada and Mexico, fueling fear to elect a compromise strongman, in quotes, to fix it all. Meanwhile, rising prices will undoubtedly be blamed on Trudeau by the Canadian media. Can't disagree with that, Cranky Canuck. I think you nailed that one. You're muted, sir. Somehow you got muted there. I don't know what happened. Yeah. No, you're still muted.
I know. I pressed the cough button, and for some reason I pressed the button and it didn't come back. Now, compare and contrast the Conservatives to new president of Mexico and Mexico's first female president, Claudia Sheinbaum. This is from The Guardian. Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum has rebuked Donald Trump's threat to impose steep tariffs on Mexico, arguing the plan would do nothing to halt the flow of migrants or drugs bound for the U.S. border, and vowing that Mexico would hit back with tariffs of its own. Quote, one tariff would be followed by another in response, and so on until we put at risk common businesses, Sheinbaum said, warning that tariffs would cause inflation and job losses in both countries. What sense is there? Sheinbaum's comments came after Trump said on Monday that as one of his first actions as president, he would impose a 25% tax on all imports from Mexico and Canada in an effort to stop the flow of migrants and narcotics into the United States. Quote, this tariff will remain in effect until such time as drugs, in particular fentanyl, and all illegal aliens stop this invasion of our country, Trump wrote on his Truth Social page. Now, see, if I was a petty Canadian, and I am, like this, but had no sense of mastery of myself, like the Conservatives do, then I would have clapped back with a tweet and said, because and our tariffs will remain in effect until such time as guns right?
Yeah.
You can play this game. But you don't do that because that's dumb. You just say, you want to put tariffs? Okay, it's very sad and unfortunate, but I guess we'll tariff you 1 for 1 too, and it'll end up a zero-sum game. You won't win anything, and you could try to make some PR points out of it, but you're going to piss off some communities back home eventually the longer these last. But hey, if that's what you do all you want to do, knock yourself out. You did it against the will. We're all as Canadians agreeing that, well, we got no choice. So it's going to be harder for you than it is going to be for us. You start with less buy-in from your people than we do. But yeah, if you think you can wait us out, sure. I mean, I just...
I hear you.
It's unclear if the president-elect's proposals would even be legal or possible, given that the three countries share a free trade agreement known as the USMCA that was negotiated during his previous term in White House. These probably would be in violation of our trade agreement already. But as analysts pointed out, Trump has never been one to abide by the rules. And you will have a situation here where Trump is going to be violating and breaking the law on a trade agreement that he himself says is one of the best ones that has ever been negotiated. Because
he was part of the process, so of course it's the best.
Apparently it's terrible now. Quote, did we really think that Trump was going to become more institutional or more formal, said Valeria Moy, a Mexican economist and director general of IMCO, a public policy firm. The Trump that the United States and the world will have, at least in the signs he's given, is a Trump that will be more dictatorial, tougher, and more emboldened. Even if they are legally questionable, the tariffs could provide Trump with a quick win upon taking office in January, said Viri Rios, a Mexican policy expert. I don't rule out that he would implement them temporarily to give a result to his electoral base, which would be happy to see that Donald Trump is being consistent with his campaign promises, she said. But from that to this being a long-term strategy, it seems to me that it would not be good for the United States itself. Mexico is the United States' top trade partner as of September, representing 15.8% of total trade, according to Rios. A 25% tariff on Mexican goods would cost the economy $125 billion over 10 years, while costing its GDP between 0.5 and 0.74%. So Trump's tariffs are going to knock at least half a point off GDP in the United States, which means we get dragged down with that.
Yep. Yeah, we do.
So, but the president of Mexico then turned around and said, I think, or no, this is still Rios, I believe. Just looking at the quote. Yeah, this is still Rios. We've already seen this from Trump. First you threaten, then you negotiate. He's using it as a threat to sit down and negotiate and say, okay, you, President of Mexico, what are you going to do to contain the flow of migrants? And what are you going to do in terms of security? What are you going to do to prevent fentanyl from passing from Mexico to the United States? And if you don't do it, I'll put tariffs on you. Boom. So he basically says that he's putting all this pressure to get commitments of what it is that we will do like this. And then, threaten to put the tariffs back on if we don't do them. So all of this is, if it's the same play as the last time, this is how it goes down. And until we see a shift in their strategy, there's no reason to shift ours. There's reasons to make some contingency plans for shifting strategies in the back that you have ready. That's why we pay a lot of smart people to think about all the possible ways that things can go and do tabletop exercises to figure out. So if they do this, then we do this. What are they likely to do? And try to come up with some strategies. But you don't put all of them out on the table to start. You don't start negotiating with your final offer. And you certainly don't start negotiating with here, take everything, but don't touch this. Oh, you don't want me to touch that, eh? Let's talk about that. These are stupid negotiating things to do. And our premiers are doing them, all of them, simultaneously.
We're not dealing with the brightest bulbs on the Christmas tree.
It's exhausting. It's exhausting. All right. Couple of other things that we need to talk about today, kits and cubs.
I need a third mug of coffee. I'll be right back.
Okay. Yeah, actually, just one more thing that we need to talk about today, and that's the ceasefire. It seems that it is indeed in effect and underway. After more of a year of airstrikes and war and lots of people dead, the ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon took effect at around 4 a.m. local time over there this morning. As of about the 6 a.m. news Eastern time here in Canada news, the reports are that the ceasefire appears to be holding and that there have been no air raid sirens. So this is good news. Prime Minister Netanyahu let his country know that it was coming with an address and asked it to support the plan. And in Hebrew, but if we translate it into English, Netanyahu said, if Hezbollah breaks the agreement and tries to rearm, we will attack. If it tries to rebuild its infrastructure close to the border, we will attack. Announcement was made by the presidents of the United States and France who brokered the deal, and they assured that Israel would still be able to defend itself. It is said that the deal is modeled on Resolution 1701 that ended the 2006 war between Israel and Hezbollah at the time, but failed, obviously, to prevent the current conflict from flaring up. The deal for the moment calls for a 60-day period of transition, or in other words, a truce, which would be in effect during which Hezbollah would pull its forces from the Israeli border far enough into Lebanon and make sure that they don't come back into the south, and Israel would withdraw its troops from southern Lebanon. Australia's Foreign Minister Penny Wong said, "We hope that this is a catalyst for the broader ceasefire in the region. We look forward to the day where there's a ceasefire too in Gaza." It seems that part of the deal involves soldiers from Lebanon monitoring the border, which is positive. And of course, again, the condition, which was the sticking point that seems to have been resolved, is that if Hezbollah does come back into southern Lebanon, that Israel does reserve the right to attack again. So that's where things stand now. That will be a little bit of a sigh of relief in terms of some tensions, but none of this has any bearing or does anything to solve the central core issue, or none of it signifies that there's going to be any movement on the core issue, because it's an entirely different entity. Hamas and Hezbollah, they have different interests, and even though they too might be Iran-backed, and Iran did send the message to Hezbollah to accept the deal, maybe there's a similar deal to be had involving the Hamas side of things that might take more work because there are still some hostages involved. But maybe, because if Iran is backing one and backing the other and is vulnerable by air either way, maybe this one with Hezbollah is a trial run, that it does actually work, and Israel doesn't find any need to have to attack because troops have returned or infrastructure is being rebuilt. That maybe that's the, okay, we got through the 60 days. Let's start talking about Gaza now. Maybe. Got to try to look for the silver linings where you can find them. So, but it does open the door. If this one works, it does open to the door to a little tiny bit more of trust, or at least believing that Iran is serious when it says that, it would like things to cool down for a while. So, and one of the reasons that Israel did, the Prime Minister Netanyahu did have to make the appeal to his people to really to buy into this deal, is because, there's a lot of cynicism among the people that are saying, like this, yeah, for us, this is the truth. But for Hezbollah, it's just an opportunity for them to rearm. We know we've been through this before. So you can't blame the people of Israel from taking a "I'll believe it when it lasts" stance on this one. So the Prime Minister has to, it's a bit of a sell. It's not, even though everybody wants the fighting to stop, rejoicing that there's a ceasefire is not necessarily happening in Israel. Because it did happen in certain areas in Lebanon, though there was some rejoicing in the streets at the prospect that there would be a deal. But maybe not so much in Israel, because for them, the fear is in a completely different place. In Lebanon, the fighting stops now because there's a truce. So that's something to celebrate. In Israel, you've got a whole bunch of people on edge going, okay, how long before they rearm and try again? So, two different moods, right? So when we're talking about that, you have to be sensitive to the moods that are there. It's two different realities in two different places at the moment. But ceasefire is better than no ceasefire.
Correct. So
I keep on hearing on a show these days, we need to microdose hope. So I believe that was on the Daily Beans. I believe they found it somewhere. Somebody had said it in an interview to them like this, but just like, right now we're just microdosing hope. So that's the biggest things. Those are the big things. Got a little tidbit. We talked about the Paul Bernardo thing. The parole hearing was held. This was the third one.
It was a shocker.
I guess
it was a shocker.
Yes. There's a shocker. I think there was like a whole period of time that he was not eligible for parole, and I think once you are eligible, it happens every 2 years or so. So this is the third time since he's been eligible for it. The proceedings took pretty much all day, but it seems that they happened between two members of the National Parole Board, and it took them only about 30 minutes to decide that we are denying you day parole, full parole, and temporary absences, even supervised ones, saying that the threat was still too great.
They will
The
never let him
mothers,
out.
no, they were never. The mothers of Leslie Mahaffey and Kristen French did get to speak. The initial dumb decision did get
Mhm.
reversed. Leslie Mahaffey's mother went in person. The mother of Kristen French spoke via video link to deliver their victim impact statements. Donna French, the mother, said that her worst nightmare would be that a family like hers would experience a similar loss when he was free out on parole. The parole board said that he would pose a risk even if he was allowed out on temporary supervised release. So it's a full no across the board. The panel said that he was still overestimating the skills that he had and underestimating the challenges that he would face in the community if he was out roaming free. And they also said, his parole officer testified that a psychologist recently found that Bernardo, who's now 60, still shows signs of voyeurism, sexual sadism, and narcissistic personality disorder, and is still, even at 60, an above average risk of sexual relapse. So,
Well, and you need to remember,
no.
too, this is very important, that were he released on day parole, the community would become
Would be
vigilantes.
alerted. Yes.
They have to be alerted. They have to be,
Yes.
because he's a sexual predator, a sexual offender.
Yes.
So whatever community he was released into would know who he is. Something tells me vigilantism would take place there. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think people, enough people have daughters, sisters,
Yeah.
mothers, that he's safer in prison than he is on the outside.
Yeah.
I know that sounds weird. I know he's dangerous, period. But it's safer for him in prison than he is on the outside. And if he were to be released, I know people who would take the law into their own hands
Oh, yeah.
and unalive him. And they would do it without a second thought. They would just do it. And I know a lot of people who have said if he ever gets out, he's done. And they mean it, and they don't care. They're like, I don't care what will happen to me. That man can never be free. So he's safer in prison. And at the same token, that prevents somebody else from having to go into prison.
Mm-hmm. Now, of course, all the usual disclaimers. If that's a thought that you have, thinking it, one
That's
thing, acting on it, highly no. We have law enforcement for a reason.
Yes.
Leave that to them, please.
And we
If
understand
that
how
ever were to
frustrated
happen, he would
we
be
have.
watched like a hawk.
Well, you have to understand how frustrated, we understand how frustrated you can get at the slow wheels of justice. We get it. Justice is not instantaneous. Sometimes it takes years to happen. Case in point, Pat King, 2022. It's almost 2025. He's not yet been sentenced. Very frustrating. In the court of, in Ontario, Randy Hillier's charges have been dropped because it's taken too long for a trial to begin. Right? So no justice served there because our system failed.
Justice delayed was justice denied in this case.
Yes.
Yeah. Just a mention, I'm not sure if I had mentioned it, but the Prime Minister has indeed agreed to sit down with Canada's premiers to discuss the tariff thing. Prime Minister said the Team Canada approach is what works. I reached out immediately to Ontario Premier Doug Ford to agree with him that we would have a First Ministers meeting this week to talk about the United States and talk with Quebec Premier François Legault and some other premiers as well. Of course, Premier Legault's angle really is the immigration thing because Quebec has received an oversized amount of people during the course of the recent influx through the Roxham Road and all of that kind of stuff. So, he does have a very legitimate issue in terms of costs, right? It's not we don't want to welcome them. It's just like, just help us take care of them, man, if we're going to do this, right? So, that will take place. I'm not sure if the meeting is scheduled to be I'm guessing it's probably going to be scheduled to be a teleconference type meeting rather than in person, which would be the fastest way to do this. But yes, and I'm not sure doesn't actually say here in the article what date they set for the meeting, whether or not it will be today or whether or not it's something that'll be coming soon. But as when the meeting happens, of course, we will bring you some information on that, kids and cubs. All right, Mr. Grizzly, I think we have a show.
I'd say so. I just got a couple
Unless
of
you
quick
have something else.
hits. Couple of quick hits for you. First, this
Okay.
is from our Sam G on Blue Sky. I thought I'd put this on the screen because I love what she has to say here. I'm like, oh yes. Our friend Sam G, it's at itsamg.bsky.social. If you want to follow Sam on Blue Sky, I highly recommend that you do because she's a great follow. I would pay a hefty subscription fee to listen to interviewers who force the Conservatives to answer the questions they are asked. In quotation, without mentioning Trudeau, please explain the CPC's plan or position on this issue. And every time they inevitably say Trudeau, a loud buzzer sounds, just for fun. Love that so much.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
That's
I would
just
watch that show.
Oh, yeah.
I would watch
all day long.
that show.
All day long. So, and now I have a clip for you. I want to share a clip for you here.
Okay.
Let me just find it. I have it here somewhere. It's on one of my tabs. I have a lot of tabs open. When you're trying to do a show like this, you always have tabs open so that you can quickly show the clip that you want to show. And where did I put it? Oh boy, this is really frustrating. Oh, by the way, somebody mentioned in the chat earlier that Fanta was invented by the Nazis. I looked it up. That's true.
What?
So when we call Trump Fanta Claus,
okay, whoa.
There's a
Fanta
double
was
meaning
invented
there.
by the Nazis?
Yes. And let me just put it on the screen here for you. I'll share it with you right now. Fanta was invented by the Nazis in 1941. And I'll read it to you. It says, why was it invented? Fanta was invented in Nazi Germany in 1941. Why was it invented? The American trade embargo on Nazi Germany during World War II made it difficult to import Coca-Cola ingredients. To keep the German Coca-Cola bottling plant running, Max Keith, the factory manager, created a fruit-flavored drink using ingredients he had on hand. The original Fanta was made from whey, a cheese byproduct, and apple fiber from lollipops. The drink was yellow and tasted different from today's Fanta. The flavor changed regularly throughout the war as ingredients became available. The name Fanta came from a staff competition. Salesman Joe Nip suggested the name after hearing Keith say to let their imaginations run wild. Fanta was relaunched in 1955 after Pepsi released several drinks. The current orange flavor was developed in Italy. So yeah, a little history lesson there for you. Fanta was invented by the Nazis. So when we call Trump Fanta Claus, there's a little double entendre there that I wasn't even suspecting.
Oh my God.
Right?
Oh,
that's hilarious.
I have so many pictures of myself in Mexico with a Fanta because they still have the glass bottles. And for some reason, pop is better in glass bottles than in cans. Yeah. It just tastes better. I don't know what it is.
Well, I tend to buy beer in cans, and when I do, I immediately pour it into a glass. If I don't have to drink it out of the can, I won't. It just tastes better out of the glass, right? I find once you pour beer from can to glass, it tastes fine. So here's the one quick video I wanted to send you. Swanky Frankie sent this to me, and I think Kristen also sent it to me. This is from awfully.political, at awfully.political on the TikTok.
Okay.
This is good. You'll enjoy this, sir.
Pierre Poilievre, a name synonymous with conservative politics in Canada, but behind his polished rhetoric lies a tapestry of deceptions. Today, we expose the 5 great deceptions of Pierre Poilievre. Deception number 1, the economic savior. Poilievre often presents himself as a financial genius, touting his supposed mastery over economic policies. Yet, his track record reveals a pattern of oversimplified solutions and misleading claims. Pierre Poilievre, a name synonymous with conservative politics in Canada, but behind his polished rhetoric lies a tapestry of deceptions.
I don't know what happened there.
So today, we expose the 5 great deceptions of Pierre Poilievre. Deception number 2, the free speech crusader. Poilievre champions himself as the defender of free speech, accusing others of censorship. However, his selective outrage often ignores the times when free speech is genuinely under threat, especially when it comes from voices he doesn't agree with. His stance is less about principle and more about political convenience. Deception number 3, the champion of the working class. Beaver claims to be the working man's hero, but his voting record tells a different story. He consistently votes against measures that would genuinely help workers, like minimum wage increases and stronger labor rights. His loyalty isn't to the working class, it's to the corporate elite. Deception number 4, the advocate for public safety. Poilievre touts himself as the guardian of public safety, but his record shows a different story. Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre has criticized the federal Liberal government's bail bill, but his own suggestions for bail reform are draconian and unconstitutional. He supports cuts to critical safety programs that communities rely on, putting lives at risk. His idea of public safety is more about tough talk than real protection. Deception number 5, the advocate for tax fairness. Poilievre loves to talk about making taxes fair for everyone, but his version of fairness seems to mean giving the rich a free pass while ordinary Canadians pick up the tab. His policies are a gift to the wealthy, wrapped up in the language of fairness. Pierre Poilievre is a master of political deception. His polished image conceals a reality far removed from the values he claims to uphold. Don't be swayed by his rhetoric. Look deeper, and you'll see the true Pierre Poilievre. Thank you for watching.
Like, share, and subscribe was how that ended. I'm going to follow this person on the TikTok because I really like what she had to say. And she has such a lovely voice, too.
Mm-hmm. Cool. All right. Little thing before I go out, because I like to give little bits of good news that shows that maybe things aren't as bleak. If people are thinking that they need to run away to some place if the world goes a little wackadoodle, Asia is looking pretty good, because I think Thailand recently recognized same-sex marriage, and then there was another nation I can't remember off the top. Japan court recently ruled that it was unconstitutional to not allow same-sex marriage, and yesterday a top court in Hong Kong has upheld earlier rulings that allow same-sex couples to have access to subsidized housing benefits and inheritance rights. The case has been moving through the Hong Kong justice system for years, but the justices ruled unanimously that opponents could not prove that heterosexual couples in Hong Kong would be negatively affected by the decision.
Interesting.
Today in gay. So yeah, apparently it seems that Asia is becoming the democratic, inclusive part of the world where everybody else is burning. Like, so I don't know what I need to. I don't know if I need to start building a homestead in South Korea. But
well,
I'm a little too old to be a part of a boy band now.
South Korea's got a lot of climate issues at stake. And, areas becoming a bit of problematic. And I'm not talking South Korea. I'm just talking that area of Southeast Asia.
I mean,
there's a lot.
You go to Japan, there's earthquakes and typhoons, and so I mean, there are trade-offs, But yeah, just as everybody else in the world is going like anti-DEI, and Walmart is pulling that away. It's like Hong Kong is extending same-sex benefits.
Yeah, look, I'm going to tell you, if you
the world's a mindfuck right now.
If you want to relocate, folks, I would suggest Uruguay. I'm serious. Yeah. It's a very liberal-leaning, progressive nation. Their former president was super progressive. He believes in a UBI. The country is doing good things for its people. It's nowhere near Canada, but it's probably got the safest democracy and least corrupt democracy in all of South America. And that's just personal experience from people I know that live there, and that's I'd suggest going to Uruguay if you're going to look for anywhere to go.
Okay. And for any of our U.S. kids or Canadian kids who are traveling, because U.S. Thanksgiving weekend is coming, today, Wednesday, is expected to be the busiest travel day in history.
Really?
Yes, Thanksgiving is the busiest travel time of the year in the United States, and it seems that there will be at least 3 million people expected to fly today, which is a one-day record. Weather for Thanksgiving travel can be an issue on both coasts. It seems that there's a huge rainstorm in the Midwest coming and another storm coming from the west that will bring some snow to start with. And by the time it travels through, it's even expected that it's quite possibly affect the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Travel will also be slowed by the fact that, according to Federal Aviation Administration officials, there is a shortage of staff at the main hubs, like New York, for example, and a shortage of air traffic controllers as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yep.
Well, I fly tomorrow, thankfully.
Yes. In a slightly connected but unrelated note, U.S. lawmakers say that the 5 major airline carriers in the United States have made more than $12 billion over the last 6 years by charging customers junk fees, such as selecting your own seats or having to carry an extra bag or checking bag. $12 billion in 6 years.
Wow.
That's all stuff that used to be included.
This just came across my feed from CNN. I'm just going to read you the headline.
All right.
Elon Musk publicized the names of government employees he wants to cut. It's terrifying federal workers.
He doesn't have the authority.
And he's put
the
people
Doge
in
thing
jeopardy.
isn't. Yeah, the Doge thing isn't an official government department.
He's putting people in serious jeopardy.
Yeah.
This is messed up.
Yeah. Not cool. Not cool. All right, kids and cubs. That's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. And you have the mouths from which we want the words to come. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us because we love it when you do. Now, if you would like to help us, for example, by making sure you don't miss an episode, you don't have to miss an episode. Thanks to the Ray Girl, who sponsors our pod page. If you scan that QR code that just appeared on the screen, or go to podpage.com/the True North Eager Beaver, lowercase letters with a hyphen between each one of those words. And if you go over there and click subscribe, when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, zip, it comes directly to you. Just like that. Don't have to do anything else. Now, if you'd like to help us in other ways, then you need to surf on down with Kit Elaine in tow to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube channel, where you will find our buttons like, share, and subscribe. If you click them, well, we get a whole kinds of happy here at the Beaver Lodge. So get us some happy today. Like, share, subscribe. It makes us feel good. Now, if you would like to encourage us in other ways, for example, by helping us underwrite the costs of producing the show and bringing it to you, because we do incur a couple of costs to do that, and some help would be appreciated. Of course, this is a labor of love, so we would do it anyway, but help is appreciated. So you can do that by leaving a little tip, buying me a cup of hot chocolate, or Mr. Grizzly a cup of coffee by going to our coffee page. And that's the QR code. If you're watching, that's by Mr. Grizzly's head. But if you're listening, that's coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, lowercase letters, all in one word. And if you have couples or toonies, you can drop in there to say, add a beaver, add a grizz. We like what you're doing. Please do more. We would appreciate that very much. Now, if you're not able to contribute financially, please do not worry in the least, because the gift of your attention and participation are the ones that matter the most to us. And we love to hear from you. TrueNorthEagerBeaver@gmail.com is our email address. You can write us at the Blue Sky Beaver Lodge or on the Jitter at True Eager, on our original site, our Facebook True North Eager Beaver page, or if you happen to be listening on YouTube, right down below in the comment section. Let us know what good, bad, or ugly. Give us some suggestions for the show, some guests you'd like to see on, some topics you'd like to see discussed. All of it helps. So we thank you very much, because democracy is something that you do. If you live in Nova Scotia, take a couple of days off. You've done your bit for a while. If you live in the federal riding of Cloverdale, Langley City, you have a by-election coming up on December 16th. If you live in Alberta, you've got a provincial by-election coming up in Lethbridge West. So please research your candidates, see if the polling stations need some help from volunteers, or if you have a candidate that you particularly like, knock on some doors, make some phone calls, get involved. Because it could be a tough world out there, kids. Please be kind to and gentle with yourself. Mr. Grizzly, some words of wisdom, please.
Take your vitamins and get some sunshine. We have a serious lack of vitamin D in our bodies right now because we slather ourselves in 80 block sunscreen and never get any unprotected rays. And you need unprotected rays. You don't need more than 15 minutes. It can be anywhere on your body. So take a walk in the sunshine today if you get a chance. And here's the other thing, too. It doesn't even have to be bright sunlight. You can go out on a cloudy day and get your vitamin D by exposing your face for 15 minutes, and you're good to go.
Right. There you go. Good advice. Mr. Grizzly, please cue the cock. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. All right, Mr. Grizzly, I don't know if you saw it, but I sent you a little link by email. It's a little 30-second clip. Once again, a very quintessential Canadian thing that happened on the news. Do you see it?
It's just taking a second to load right here. It took a second or two to load, so just give me a sec.
So yeah, I heard it on the news. And I said, I heard it on the podcast, through ears only. And I said, okay, I have to go and see this. But as soon as I heard it, I said, oh my God, like only in Canada, right?
Or Alaska, perhaps.
Or Alaska, perhaps, yes.
A wildlife sighting in northern BC is raising questions over how a deer ended up in a high visibility safety jacket. This deer was easy to spot on the side of the road in McBride, a village about 200 kilometers east of Prince George. A local reporter was driving through town Sunday when she saw this bizarre sight and snapped a couple of photos. Conservation officers are now working to find the deer and remove the jacket because it puts the animal's safety at risk.
The safety vest puts the animal at risk. It's true, though. It's true.
It's true. So, okay. Clearly, this was assisted somehow, because I find it very hard to believe they happen to slip into something a little less comfortable all on their own. And now, while the deer is wearing it well, walk, fashion, baby. Do not do this to the deer, okay? We're getting a chuckle because but do not dress the deer, okay?
Don't.
All right. Have a beaver. Speaking as a beaver, our dear friends really don't like it. Don't dress the deer.
Don't dress the deer. I'll see you.
Have a be perfect day.